I'm good, Eminetta, whenever you want me to call roll.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to eRivers Go Team meeting, where we follow the agenda as it's been emailed and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in this discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. I'm pleased to call this meeting of the eRivers Go Team to order at 3:34 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll. The secretary will now call roll.
Summer,
Here.
Paige. Okay, Erica,
Present.
Greg,
Here.
Wendy,
Here.
Allison,
Here.
me, I'm here. Early. Okay, Eminetta,
I'm here.
and Mark.
Okay.
Okay,
This team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present.
we're good.
Cool. Okay. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. The agenda was provided to us and it's on the screen right now. Are there any changes to the agenda? Nope. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Who motioned?
Erica.
Okay, thank you.
Second,
Aye.
Nicole. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Greg, are you voting?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Any nay? Any abstentions? Okay. So we will review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting, which was I want to say February 2nd, but I feel that that's the wrong date. It was the January meeting. The minutes have been provided to you. Are there any corrections? Okay, if there's no corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes and a second?
Motion to approve.
Allison seconds.
Thank you.
Awesome. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Awesome. Any abstentions? Okay, are there any additional action items? Nope. Our first action item is I'm sorry, I have stuff on my screen. It makes it hard to see. Our budget discussion.
I'm also just going to note, Nicole, in case you didn't see, Early has now joined, so you can add her to
Okay,
the.
let me add her. Yep, got it. Thanks. Yeah, I'm on the note page, so thanks.
All right, so let's move into budget, our draft budget. So just as a reminder, this is both what we have done, steps 1, 2, and 3. Step 4 is where we are. We have our budget feedback meeting today. After this draft budget is voted on, then I will take the budget to our associate superintendent. Then the next step will be to meet with HR and have staffing conferences. And then after all of that is finalized, it'll come back for final approval from the Go team. Okay. We will have to take action at both this meeting and the March meeting that we have. All right, so just as a reminder, this is our current strategic budget that at our last meeting, the Go team voted to approve. I'll give you a second to read over it. As a reminder, it is for 2025 through 2030, and it is written to be in alignment with APS's strategic plan, which is where those six instructional or those six focuses come from: strengthening our instructional core, caring for every child, sparking student curiosity. Our strength is our team, our responsibility is shared, and our school is efficient and effective. Under each of those headings, you'll see our strategic priorities that, again, were voted on and ranked at our last meeting. Here are those ranked objectives for your review. And so in red are the actual objectives. They are listed in the order in which we ranked them. And then in black are, again, those focus areas. Just watching everybody's eyeballs. It looks like some of you are still reading, so I'm just giving you a second. All right, thumbs up if you're ready to move on. Great. So after reviewing allocations, we are to discuss some budget parameters that align to our rankings that should be considered when drafting our budget. So over to the left, you'll see those school priorities, and then a rationale for those budgeting parameters off to the right. So for student mastery of academic content and providing rigor to all students, looking to streamline professional learning on standards-based instruction, high leverage practices, implementation of new curricular resources, and alignment to IB units of inquiry, and that those will strengthen instructional quality and rigor. The staff has heard me say often that Dr. Johnson has been very clear in his vision for the district, getting back to the basics, but more importantly, reducing the variability in the quality of instruction. He wants us to focus on quality and impact unapologetically. For building teacher capacity in literacy and math, looking at content area expertise and instructional support teams, that will allow for just deeper and more effective teaching practice and targeted support. Foster a positive, inclusive school culture. Growing the number of personnel supporting all student groups will yield higher student achievement and ensure equitable gains, which I know is something when we looked at our KPI, we were all very much in tune to and wanting to move forward on meeting the needs of those select student groups. Focusing on biliteracy. Looking at things like biliterate intervention specialists can more effectively provide support for at-risk students in bilingual programs. We want to make sure that scheduling maximizes instruction and enrichment opportunities. Retain and develop highly qualified teachers and staff. If we ensure that all of our teachers have the required credentialing and content expertise, then that will boost student achievement and reduce the variability in the quality of instruction. We do have some teachers that are not properly credentialed for what they are teaching. In some cases, we have missed out on some funding opportunities as a result of those things. So it's really important that we make sure that our teachers are in the right spots based on their credentialing. Expanding teacher collaboration opportunities, authentic, embedded, collaborative, professional learning, and tiered coaching will increase teacher efficacy. Inform and engage the entire school community. Our MTSS specialists and others ensure a consistent system is used school-wide and directly involves key stakeholders in all three tiers. I'm going to pause here for a second because one of the things that we do in education all the time is we throw around a lot of acronyms. And so I'm just going to take a second to define MTSS. All right, so everything that we do in our school is part of a multi-tiered system of support. That's academic and it is behavioral. Tier 1 in that triangle of support is meant to be good quality instruction across the board. It is what every student is doing in the classroom every day. It's teachers implementing our standards, using the curricular resources, using best teaching practices. It's what we would expect all students to do. Research shows that if our Tier 1 is truly quality, then at least 85% of our student population should be achieving. That's also true of subgroups. If you have a quality Tier 1 instruction, then 85% of all subgroups should also be performing well. For those select students who are not, who need additional support with that than just Tier 1, then what we do is we provide supplemental interventions, and we progress monitor how students are responding to those Tier 2 interventions. The idea is to determine a rate of improvement that then closes that gap between where they are performing and where they should be performing. For some students, they need even more intense, more frequent intervention, and that is Tier 3. So it is the highest frequency, the most intense intervention that we can provide. And in some cases, we have to move beyond that and look at whether the student might have a disability or impairment that might call for an evaluation for special education. So those 3 tiers, 1, 2, and 3, are what we do in our building every single day. Building systems and resources to support the cluster plan and IB implementation. Streamlining coaching and IB coordination will ensure the IB framework is the foundation upon which curricular and instructional decisions are built, positioning literacy as a foundation for inquiry, conceptual understanding, and student agency. Any questions about any of these priorities and rationales? So what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at our focus areas, the strategic objectives, how that impacts our resource, or rather what the resource recommendations are at that point. And if we need any additional information, like the why is this important? All right. So starting with strengthening our instructional core. So we had 2 strategic priorities, 2 strategic objectives that were a part of that: improve student mastery of academic content and provide rigor to all students. And so you'll see there to the right my resource recommendations, and then my rationale or my why for why those are my resource recommendations. Now, I'm going to just have you all, I'm going to go through these and I'm going to have you all really kind of read them yourself. So I'm going to kind of gloss over them. But then after you've kind of seen them in their totality, I want to go back and kind of tease out some specific things. For Go Team members, you have access to this presentation in the Go Team folder. So you would be able to not just rely on my screen, but then go back and read through those things, okay? The next focus area, our strength is our team. So there we have 3 strategic objectives: building teacher capacity in literacy and math, retaining and developing highly qualified teachers and staff for traditional DLI and support classes, and then expanding teacher collaboration opportunities. So then to the right are my resource recommendations for next school year.
Summer, what are PLCs?
Oh yeah, there's another, and actually I see 2 up at the top, up in the row above that, creation of WIN. I didn't define WIN. So WIN is something that was part of this school right after COVID, I believe. I'm looking for teachers to nod their heads yes. I think
Yes.
that went away. Did it go away last year? But it stands for whatever I need. And basically it's an instructional block of time in which students who need enrichment are able to go and be provided enrichment. Students who need intervention are able to get intervention, and the general classroom teacher is left with a smaller group of students. So in some cases, that might be when an early intervention prevention teacher pulls a student out. It might be an opportunity for gifted students to go to a resource class. It might be an opportunity for ESOL students to get some additional support, speech language students to get their session with their speech teacher. But it's a 45-minute segment in which instruction is really being differentiated and meant to target where and meet students exactly where they are. So a PLC is a professional learning community. So our teachers have 45 minutes of planning every day. And when their students go to their electives or their enrichment classes, the teachers meet together with their grade level team. And it kind of depends on the grade because we have some departmentalization, right? So like from a fifth grade standpoint, the fifth grade ELA teachers will get together as a community, and it's an opportunity to look at data. It's an opportunity to work together on planning and assessment in their unit, looking at, I think I already said, looking at data, planning together, doing some specific professional learning. So what we are looking at for next year, and this is something that is pretty consistent across the other North Atlanta elementary schools, is 1 day a week, expanding that planning time for teachers so that they get a 90-minute block. I think these teachers that are here will tell you that 45 minutes sometimes when you're getting together with your peers and you have to use the bathroom and maybe you didn't get enough time for your lunch and you've got to make copies, 45 minutes just isn't enough time. So expanding that 1 time per week by strategically placing electives classes in the schedule, just using that as an opportunity really to maximize what teachers are able to get done during that time period.
Is there a way to see what the recommendation is compared to the current? So how fiscal year 27 is different than what it currently is?
To see the budget, how the budget is different?
This middle column here, fiscal year 27 resource recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, so
like,
So after we go through this part, I'm gonna go through each of those things and you'll be able to make a comparison.
okay.
Okay. Our next focus area, caring for every child. Fostering a positive and inclusive school culture for students and staff, recommending that we currently do not have a bilingual EIP, early intervention prevention teacher. So looking to make sure that we have interventionists that can meet the needs of all students. You know, in our, let's say, Spanish DLI classes, if there is a student in there who is Spanish speaking only and needs additional math support, they're relying on a math interventionist that also is bilingual because the DLI program really tries to minimize the amount of English that is happening on the Spanish side of things. So really thinking about how we might be able to optimize and better meet the needs of all of our students. We currently only have a 0.5 gifted teacher, right? And we don't do any gifted resource really. When you look at funding for gifted, gifted is a highly weighted FTE for our students, meaning that if we were to take the number of gifted students that we have and multiply that by 0.75, we get a very large chunk of money. In comparison, a student who is receiving EIP services, early intervention prevention services, is worth 1 FTE. Gifted students are worth 0.75 FTE. An ESOL, English language learner, student is only worth 0.2 FTE. So gifted students are about one of the highest weighted opportunities for us to bring more money and resources into the school. You can code up to 3 segments a day for gifted, to being in the classroom, which is the model that we're currently using. It's called a cluster model, which means that, for instance, Miss Sanders has her gifted certification, and she has a group of students who have qualified for gifted services. And the idea is that Miss Sanders, with her gifted endorsement, is able to differentiate instruction and provide the appropriate amount of challenge to those students during the math block when they are with her. Okay. Similarly, with Miss James, who is Miss Sanders' teaching partner, if she has a gifted endorsement and those students are in her classroom, they'd be able to receive funding for that segment that they're with Miss James. So that's 2 segments. If during our win we create a gifted pullout, we would get another segment of funding for those gifted students. We currently do not have that. So we're looking again to not only meet the needs of our gifted students, but optimize funding for the school. One of the other things that I just wanted to point out for Caring for Every Child is with gifted as well, we are allowed to take subgroups who maybe have not been identified as gifted, but are on the bubble. So for instance, right now, Ms. Sheroff is testing, giving the cognitive abilities test to any student who scored, what is it, above 85th, in the 85th percentile or higher.
Yeah.
So that won't get them into gifted, that 85th percentile and higher on academic content won't get them into gifted, but it shows that if they get a cognitive score, they could be on the bubble. So not identified as gifted, but real close. We could place those students in these accelerated, in our gifted resource. We won't get funding for them, but we're creating an opportunity for talent development so that maybe the next time they are tested, they have moved up enough to qualify for gifted services. Next line, sparking student curiosity, extending focus on biliteracy through the implementation of dual language. We want to make sure that we're maintaining our DLI program, right? Making sure that the teachers that are teaching in those DLI programs have the proper credentialing and are experts in their content. We also want our students who are not in DLI to continue to receive world language instruction. We want to make sure that we're scheduling to maximize both of those things. Our responsibility is shared. Inform and engage the entire school community. So my recommendation for next year is that, so we currently have 4 ESOL teachers. And again, going back to Greg, your question, I'm going to show you this in more of a spreadsheet. We currently for this year earned 4 full-time ESOL positions, okay? The way that we've done that is we've got 2 full-time teachers and we have 4.5 teachers for a total of 4 FTE, full-time equivalent, for ESOL. Because ESOL receives some federal funding, what we spend on ESOL has to be what we have earned based on our allotment, okay? So for next year, we have only earned 3 full-time ESOL teachers through FTE. We have earned 5.5 early intervention prevention teachers. This year, we have only staffed 1 out of the 5.5 for early intervention prevention. In years past, you were able to use what was called a reduced class size model, and students were able to receive their intervention services within that reduced class size model if it fell under a particular threshold. That model is no longer being funded. So if we want to take advantage of EIP and remember, that's our highest funding opportunity, we want to make sure that we are that we have enough EIP teachers that we can really earn those segments and provide those students the support that they need. We have earned 3 gifted teachers. Currently, we only have 0.5 gifted teacher. So we want to increase the number of full-time gifted teachers that we have, again, so that we can really maximize that opportunity and better meet the needs of our gifted students.
Why is the recommendation then for 2 and not 3?
That's a great question. And I'm going to, the short answer is it's a shell game, right? I'm moving people around to try to maximize the services that we are providing for folks. So you heard me say earlier that that we were using a reduced class size model for EIP in one, right? So that means that we've got more teachers, more classroom teachers in order to have fewer students in each of those classes. To fund those additional teachers, we had to borrow from something else. So gifted was one of the places that was being borrowed from when the budget was adopted last year, for instance. Okay. But again, we're going to go into more detail on that. Want to make sure that we're keeping our MTSS specialists. Again, you heard me say earlier that 85%, if our tier 1 instruction is working, then we would expect to see 85% of our students being on grade level, achieving, right? That is not at all what we are seeing. And I don't think it's what eRivers has been seeing for a time period, okay? Right now, if I look at 3rd through 5th grade students, based on last year's GMAS scores, less than half of them were on grade level in language arts. Additionally, less than half of them were on grade level for math. So what that tells me is that, and if I look at my intervention numbers, the number of kids that are receiving tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, we're at 21%, I believe is what Ms. Molina told me recently. That means we are below, or we are above that 15% threshold. That tells us that something has to change with our tier 1 instruction. At the same time, while we're improving tier 1, we can't ignore the 21% who are below grade level, or the over 50% that aren't on grade level based on GMAS. We really have to make sure we've got the right people working with the right students so that we can move the needle at all 3 tiers. That MTSS specialist really organizes all of that work. If we increase our early intervention prevention teachers next year, those teachers would also work hand in hand with our MTSS specialists, progress monitor. I mean, there's a lot that goes into the documentation, the planning, the implementation of all of those interventions and progress monitoring. And then we are fortunate to have, like eRivers had last year, a bilingual office clerk. So the person that is at our front desk is bilingual and able to make sure that that population of families and students are being met and greeted and offered every opportunity to engage properly with the school. So all of those things just ensure continuity of services and homeschool partnerships, making sure that we've got shared leadership with instructional lead teachers, and that we are including really teacher representation in all of that shared leadership work to share that responsibility. And then finally, effective and efficient systems, build systems and resources to support cluster plan and IB implementation. So one of the recommendations that I am making, and we're going to get into the whys and the wherefores when we look at that, when we look specifically at the budget, is shifting IB coordination to our 2 instructional coaches. We want to make sure that our coaching and our professional development integrates those units of inquiry and the IB's approaches to teaching and learning across all content areas. We shouldn't have silos. Right? If IB is truly our framework, then we almost have to start there. We almost have to start there. And by making sure that our instructional coaches that are working across grade levels and working with every content are utilizing that framework again as a starting place in all of the professional development that is offered and in all of those PLC sessions. Finally, just increasing intervention and enrichment opportunities for all of those subgroups. And we've already kind of talked about that. Okay. I should ask, were there any questions? I can go into more detail as we go through this. Okay. Actually, I
I
don't
have a
want
question.
Yeah.
On the slide that was before that, there was one thing I wasn't sure what it meant.
Yeah.
The
This
one,
one or this one?
that one. It says, when it says convert 5 full-time teachers, so what was 4 classroom and 1 WL? What is that, WL?
World language.
World
Thank
language.
you.
Okay, that's what I'm confused. Okay, thank you.
I couldn't even see it with my eyeball. It took me a
Thank
second
you.
there. All right. So what I want to do now is I want to go into where we are currently. So Greg, this answers your question. Okay. What you are seeing, and all of you should have had an opportunity to go to the Go Team budget training. Okay, that was a requirement for every member of the Go Team across the district. Okay, so you learned about what baseline means, what staffed means, and the difference. Okay, for our community members who are watching live on YouTube, baseline means that is based on our allocation, based on the amount of money that we have because of the number of students that we have, because of the number of gifted students we have, because of the number of ESOL students, et cetera, et cetera. That is how many total general fund positions we have earned. 81.1 is what we have earned. But we have staffed 84. When we break those down into discrete groups, looking at all of our classroom teachers, so kindergarten through 5th grade. Pre-K is not included on here because pre-K funding comes out of a special reserve fund. It doesn't come out of our general fund. We have 28, we earned 28 classroom teaching positions, but we currently have staffed 34. So we are 6 over for classroom teaching positions. If we look at our EIP, REP is middle school, so that's remedial education program. So if we look at the number of EIP teachers, we have earned, based on our EIP numbers, we've earned 5.5 full-time EIP teachers. We've only staffed 1, which gives us a negative of 4.5. So you can take that 4.5, right, and say, okay, well, that accounts for those 6, or that accounts for 4.5 of the 6 elementary classroom teachers that we're over. Okay, so again, it's a shell game. Some things were moved around. There are some places where you can be flexible in that way. You can move positions around. There are other places, specifically those that deal with federal dollars, that you can't be flexible with. That is, whatever you are spending has to be exactly what you earned. Electives and enrichments. Again, over to the left are how many positions we have earned based on the number of students enrolled in our school. And this is how many that we have staffed. So again, we are staffing less for everything except for physical education than what we have earned, which gives us 3.1 that we've been able to utilize for other things. So 2 of those could be, again, for the additional classroom teachers that we have. And then there are some other positions as well that don't earn funding that that eRivers has been staffing. CTE and special education. We don't have any CTE, that's career tech. But this is our special education. It also includes our ESOL. So this is our federally funded categories. We earned, I'm sorry, This is supposed to say 4. So for this current year, we did earn 4, and we are currently staffed at 4. That has changed for next year. Next year, we have only earned 3. I'm going to show you that in the next slide. All of our special education it's exactly, whatever we have earned is what we have staffed. So no shells to move around there, right? Same is true of paraprofessionals. When it comes to school administration, we are over by 0.5. So we earn a full-time bookkeeper, but we do not earn a school business manager. So we've only staffed our bookkeeper for half of that time, and we've taken that and some other moving parts to be able to fund that full-time school business manager. Student and school support, those are things like counselors, media specialists, school nurse, instructional coaches, signature programming, psychologist, custodian, you can see the list, right? So we are over by 4. So let's just take, you'll see in red, these are the places where we have not earned. So we have not earned a second instructional coach. The only instructional coach that the district pays for is this coach that's considered the readers or leaders coach. So that's the only one we've earned. We have not earned, this district does not specifically fund a signature program coordinator, the IB coordinator. They don't fund our second world language class, which is called the signature world language class. So we've got 2 world language classes and only one of those positions is funded. And lastly, our specialist, our SST intervention. So we are over by 3 there.
I don't know if it matters, but on row 113, I think column E should be 0.5. Minus 0.5.
This is wrong too.
And then
Sorry, my other spreadsheet is actually linked to all the formulas. So this one I had to go in by hand because none of the formulas were linking. So my apologies for that. But still what we're looking at is a difference of, in some areas, a significant amount. We've been really, really fortunate, I think, at eRivers to have a PTA and a foundation that gives the school a lot of support. Neither of those things, though, can fund positions. So what eRivers has done is they have taken their non-staffing money, their instructional materials money, and they've used that to be able to offset any expenses related to personnel. So EREF, for instance, pays for a lot of our professional development so that we can then use the money that would go to professional development and pay for additional people. Okay, so while that has worked for us in the past, this year for fiscal year 27, when I received this budget, we were significantly in the red. So our funding for next year is significantly different than our funding from this year. Largely that has to do with enrollment. So when we created this, when this current year's budget was created, it was the projected enrollment was 658. You all remember from the beginning of the year, come leveling day 15, we did not meet that threshold of 658. So that meant the 2% that we had put in reserve was wiped away. We still owed $30,000 thereabouts, which APS held harmless. All right, so, but it wiped out that reserve for us. Okay, so when you're looking at deficits like these, I don't have a lot in non-personnel to play with. It means that I have to look at personnel. All right. So let's go back to, I should also say that our hourly employees, they don't earn an allocation, right? So that the district is not funding for those positions at all. So we've got some part-time hourly paraprofessionals. We've got an hourly parent liaison. We have an hourly residency officer, and we have 2 hourly cafeteria monitors. None of those things, again, are supported by APS. We have to pay for those ourselves.
Can the PTA or the foundation help support with those positions?
My understanding from both the foundation board and the PTA board is they are not allowed to pay salaries or pay for positions. They are not allowed to put any money towards personnel.
Yeah.
So the reason that I wanted to show this slide is because I wanted to see if I reduce the number of classroom teachers, what that might do to class size. Okay, so it is my recommendation. Remember, we were 6 over in terms of allotment and funding. It is my recommendation that we reduce every grade level to 5 teachers per team. So that's a reduction of 4. We'll still be over by 2, but that is a reduction of 4. So let's talk about what that looks like, right? Because the question then that I know is on teachers' minds and on parents' minds is, what's that do for class sizes? So over to the far right is APS's recommendations for class sizes, 23, 24, 24, 24, 30, and 30. How do you feel about 30 kids in your class, Ms. Sanders? So we know that our DLI classes are already staffed at 25 each, okay? So if I take next year's projected enrollment, these are the numbers that the district gave us for next year, and I take out the 2 DLI classes and then divide the remaining by 3 teachers, this is what we're looking at for traditional class sizes. So kindergarten is at 17.6. Obviously, it's not 0.6 of a kid, right? So somebody would have one more. 17 for first grade, 20 for second grade, 18.6 for third, 18.6 for fourth, and 15 for fifth. Not bad numbers when it comes to class sizes.
Yeah, that seems really good.
Questions about just the numbers? All
How
right.
many do we currently have in our classes this year?
Great question. Let me find the notebook that has my notes. Small. Wendy, you've got what, 12 kids in your class? So 4th grade,
No,
rising
I
5th
have a
grader.
14 in one segment and and down to 12 in another segment. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like Miss James's homeroom.
yeah,
And the other 2 homerooms that are not DLI are 14 and 14.
yeah.
Or 14, no, one is lower than that, I think. One is 14, one might be a little bit lower, maybe a 13 or 12 too. So it's the 4th grade group rising 5th grader. It's unusually a small group. I've never had such a small group.
And we
So
haven't
just-
had those smaller groups since like
No,
when I
and
started.
teachers don't
And
expect
we had
that. It's kind of weird to
360
have such
kids.
small groups.
So just keep that in mind. And that's been a long time ago. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Mark, who asked that question? Mark asked that question? Greg?
Oh, I'm
Somebody asked.
sorry, this was Aminetta. I asked the
Okay,
question.
sorry, I couldn't remember. So currently, after you take out DLI, kindergarten classrooms currently are at 17.4, so not a big change. First grade is currently at 20, which is also why you then see for next year, second grade at 20. Second grade is currently at 15. We're expected to get a few more, so taking that up for third grade to 18.6. 4th grade is currently at 14, taking that up just a little bit. No, I'm sorry. 3rd grade is at 18.6, taking us up for 4th grade, again at 18.6. And then 4th grade currently is at about averaging 14. Whoops. taking us down to 15 or increasing by 15 for next year. And currently fifth grade is at 11.25. All right, so let's go into more detail about the proposed use of staffing and non-staffing allocations and the school level flexibility. So again, we've already gone over some of this, but just to recap, where you see baseline, that's the district's recommended staffing, what you have earned. There is some school level flexibility with some staffing positions. Staff shows how I am proposing to staff those positions for next year. Difference is self-explanatory. And for any of those changes, I have to provide comments, just so everybody understands my thinking behind this. All right, so these are next year's numbers with my explanation. All right, so we'll start with elementary teachers. So we've earned 28. I'm recommending that we staff 30. That gives every grade level 5 classroom teachers. One of the things that we are looking at for grades 3rd through 5th, right now we only do this for 4th and 5th, is departmentalizing by content area. With 3 traditional content teachers, right? So I'm gonna look at Miss Sanders right now and use her class, her grade level as an example. I've got 2 of those teachers are DLI teachers, and then the 3 remaining are traditional. Departmentalizing so that 1 teacher is math, 1 teacher is ELA, and 1 teacher is social studies and science. Okay, that allows for a much more narrow focus when it comes to content expertise. And it still allows for grade levels to collaborate, think across transdisciplinary when it comes to units of study, IB units of study. And then what we would do is we would use 1 EIP and 1 elective FTE to cover these 2 grade levels that would still be 1 over what they have earned. Okay, so I'm borrowing from down here in order, because otherwise I'd have to cut these 2 additional classroom staff, which would leave 4th grade at 4 total teachers and 5th grade at 4 total teachers.
Miss Clayton, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think this sounds really cool and interesting and new. I'm curious what you think this experience, and maybe we'll get into this with doing this, but the DLI kids are not going to be having the same experience and how that will impact them, and their leveling too.
I'm not sure what I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean by leveling. I mean, what I think you're getting at is, so for 4th grade DLI, that's Dr. Niles and Jimenez, for instance.
Yeah.
Currently, they are departmentalized, but they have 2 content areas.
Right.
Because we don't have 3 DLI teachers, right? Or 3 in that DLI department. So
Yeah.
Dr. Niles teaches social studies and ELA, and Jimenez teaches math and science.
Yeah.
So are you asking, with the other 3 teachers having 1 content area to focus on and those 2 teachers having 2?
Yeah, I think
How that will impact their
yeah,
experience?
it's a different experience for the teachers. It's a different experience for the kids. I guess I also see DLI classes are always much larger. I don't know. I guess I just want to, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
a little selfish too, because my kids are in DLI.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, no,
it is what
I
it is.
get that. I mean, I think that though what we have been facing here since the DLI implementation is at those lower grades, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, for instance, those kids are also having a different experience, right?
Right.
Because the 2nd grade, the kindergarten, first, second, and third teachers haven't been departmentalizing. So while the DLI kids are flip-flopping between the English-speaking side and the Spanish-speaking side, the other teachers have their kids for the whole day, right? So those kids aren't switching at all. So we already have a bit of a discrepancy between the experiences of our DLI students and our traditional students.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that question. All right, so we have earned, as I mentioned before, 5.5 EIP teachers. As we have also discussed, we have a lot of kids needing intervention. We need to really ramp up our intervention support for those students. So my recommendation is that we have 4 EIP teachers, 2 in the 1st through 3rd grades and 2 in 4th through 5th grades. My hope is that we are able to staff at least half of those positions with bilingual interventionists. All right. And again, they will be targeting very specific subgroups that we know are large gaps for us. For our electives and enrichments, really no change here in terms of the funding, right? So we've earned for these 4 electives, the big change is around gifted. So right now we just have 0.5 for gifted, even though we earned 3. My recommendation is that we staff 2 full-time gifted teachers so that we're able to utilize, again, that cluster model and also utilize the resource model to get that extra funding.
Can I ask about the PE? I assume, I mean, have we always had 2? Because the 1.4 strikes me as kind of odd there.
Yeah, that's not something that I mean, I don't know the history. What I can tell you is the way that our specials work right now is that there are 2 classes in the gym at the same time being supervised by 2 teachers.
Right.
Right. So
Okay.
2
So you have to
teachers
have 2.
and 2 classrooms.
Yeah.
So in terms of teacher to student ratio, because at a lot of schools, it's a double ratio, right? You've got 1 PE teacher and you've got 2 classes in there.
Got it. I understand. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions about the electives or enrichment funding? Okay, special ed again, and ESOL. The only change for ESOL is that we have to match our funding here. So since we have only earned 3 full-time ESOL teachers, we will be staffing. Oh, whoops. My mouse moved things. Sorry about that. So because we have earned 3 ESOL teachers, staffing 3 ESOL teachers, and that's not flexible. That's what I have to do. Any questions about this first slide?
So for world language, we just gonna have 1 world language teacher?
So the signature, remember the signature world language
that's right.
teacher
Okay.
is funded on out of a different pot of money.
Okay, that's right.
Okay. And so we'll actually get to the answer to your question here in a bit. Paraprofessionals, again, no change there. Whatever we've earned is what we're staffing. And that's largely just kindergarten paraprofessionals. That's what, no other paraprofessionals at any other grade level are earned. It's only kindergarten and special education. For school administration, the change that we're making is that we are, even though we have earned 1 full-time bookkeeper, we're essentially using that to offset the school business manager. And we are shifting the bookkeeper to part-time hourly, which saves us about $20,000. And finally, student and school support. We are continuing to fund a 2nd instructional coach. And again, the idea behind that is to make sure that all tier 1 instruction is solid and that there is embedded professional development across all 6 grade levels. We are also keeping our MTSS, or our SST is what it used to be called, Student Support Team Specialist. Even though that is not an earned position, it is my recommendation that we continue to fund that. And then over on the right, you also kind of see like how I'm shifting, you know, the shell game that I'm playing. So I'm using 0.5 bookkeeper and 0.5 EIP to fund that school business manager position. We earn 2 counselors, but we're using that 1 counselor FTE to offset this instructional coach for tiered coaching and targeted professional learning. And then we're using 0.6 from electives to target at-risk subgroups. We are also, as part of my recommendation, and I'm not even sure that that's included on any of these slides, because that's not part of the template that was included for the Go team, because those positions aren't funded, is eliminating our hourly paraprofessionals. Those are part-time hourly paraprofessionals. We've got 3 of them, and using the money and also abolishing our part-time parent liaison. Again, because we have a bilingual school clerk, we can transfer those duties to that school clerk. And I think those are the 3 hourly positions. So we would be keeping the hourly part-time residency officer. We have about 108 students. Well, that was about a month ago. As of a month ago, we had 108 new students who had started since the beginning of school. And we had, I think, 60-something withdrawals. So we have a good bit of turnover. I don't have to tell you that E-Rivers is a sought-after school. This is a sought-after neighborhood. So we do have families that try to enroll in our school, and they don't really live in our zone. So our residency officer keeps very busy, making sure that she's doing residency checks and that the students that are entering our schools are in fact zoned for us.
Ms. Clayton, I'm sorry to interrupt again.
Yeah.
Are we voting on the budget today?
You are voting on the draft budget today.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And so what you see not on here is our IB coordinator position and our signature world language position. Again, I am looking at abolishing those positions in order to offset some of our other positions to try to, again, play that shell game. Now, that still leaves us 1 world language teacher, so students will still receive world language. And then instructional coaches will take over IB coordination. IB is tier 1 instruction, so it makes sense for that to land on the plate of our instructional coaches. Now, here's the hard part. The hard part is abolishing positions, right? My choices are I either abolish classroom teachers or I try as much as I can to abolish part-time positions, hourly positions, and positions that aren't directly touching students. And now that's your opportunity, right? It's not fun. It's not what I want to do. But when we're facing a $300,000 deficit from this current fiscal year to next fiscal year, we have to make some hard decisions.
So as it's presented, it's the option of the hourly as opposed to the FTE. Is that correct?
No.
Or no?
I don't know. I don't think I understand your question.
So as it's presented, it is kind of reducing as few classroom teachers as possible.
Well, I'm reducing classroom teachers and I'm replacing them with EIP and gifted positions, with early intervention prevention positions and gifted
Right.
positions
Okay.
to target those subgroups.
I guess
I-
maybe I should ask that a different way. Theoretically, right? Another way to do this would be to reduce the classroom teachers by more, have bigger classroom sizes, and not make other choices.
That's correct. So,
Right.
if we go back,
And I'm not advocating for that. I think one
No,
of
I
the
know.
things that
yeah,
that
and-
has
and-
been one of the things that has been like a cornerstone of Rivers has been the ability to have smaller classroom sizes. And I think the way you've presented it is a really good compromise of maintaining I'm not a teacher, but maintaining manageable classroom sizes while, balancing the budget, I guess.
well, and the other thing that I've really tried hard to do is think about current staff, and where they would land next year. Okay. So by eliminating classroom positions, but creating intervention and gifted positions, that means that those teachers, what it means is that any teacher could apply for an EIP or a gifted position. Their vacancy then becomes a place where a teacher whose grade level has been reduced, now that teacher can move there potentially. Right? So I'm really trying to create opportunity that better meets the need of our student subgroups, that optimizes instructional activities and opportunities to get achievement up across the board, get achievement up. So I have started first with hourly folks, right? Hourly folks who aren't touching kids as much. They're not our full-time people. They are not our certified staff typically, right? So that's one place where I can save some money. Same with our parent liaison. The other place where I don't have a choice in saving money is those part-time ESOL positions, at least 2 of them, because I can only have 3 total FTE. So I can either have 2 full-time and 2 part-time, but the problem with part-time is sometimes that schedule doesn't work to meet the needs of all of our kids. We have a situation this year where our 3 ESOL teachers all work in the mornings, right? Which makes scheduling a bit of a challenge, right? So instead, having 3 full-time, again, to match the funding, but that's a place where I have to trim. I don't have another choice. It's not flexible. And then looking at what are some of those positions that, for instance, world language. World language is still an offering that we would be able to offer. I have 1 world language teacher. Do I need 2? What would be the trade-off if I kept that signature world language teacher? What becomes the trade-off if I keep that IB coordinator? And trust me when I tell you, I'm coming from a place who had her position abolished. I know what that feels like. So this is not at all something that I take lightly. Any other questions related to these 2 slides, I guess I should say?
The number of students, I guess, in the gifted program is I guess, how is that factored into the consideration to adding the gifted teacher?
You know what? We happen to have a gifted expert right here with us. Nicole, would you talk about current gifted numbers?
We're sitting a little bit over 100 with gifted students, current gifted students. We've had some come in and come out, but roughly around 100, maybe about 108 if I'm really down to the number. And currently I am testing over 180 for potential. Yes, 180, y'all heard me right. It's the most we've ever tested before for potential gifted. So our number could go to 200. I don't know. I mean, I won't know till May. after all the tests have been given and to see what students have qualified and whatnot. But we are sitting with a good amount of number in gifted.
And I think it's important to note, right? So like if we look at this spreadsheet, based on our current numbers, approximately 100, we've earned 3 gifted teachers. That's the recommendation from APS. We're talking about adding a good number more to that. So for me, at least having 2 full-time gifted teachers helps us to just optimize the type of delivery model we can provide and the number of students who are receiving those services.
Now, is there, I guess, an assumption that with the movement or the juggling of the teachers or the shell movement, that, I mean, all salaries are not equal, right? So
correct.
is there an assumption that these changes are, I mean, they're not, again, all salaries not being equal. There are some of the teachers that may call for more or additional.
Yeah, so it's really interesting, Mark. The way that they build our budget is they don't look at every individual teacher and their actual costs, their actual salary and benefits. The district comes up with an average. So depending on what your position is, there's a particular dollar mark. You could be, so for teachers, that's around 131,000 for salaries and benefits, something like that. The salaries and benefits. Okay, that's important to note. It doesn't matter if you are a teacher who has been here 20 years or you are a teacher who has been here for 3. For every teaching position, they're using that same $131,000. So, but yes, there's a difference between what a teacher costs versus what a bookkeeper costs versus what an instructional coach costs, what a school psychologist costs, a school nurse. Like there are different salary scales for the various positions.
Do they, who pays the salary? Like, does the school pay the salary or the district?
Well, we receive that allotment
And we pay it.
and it comes out of our fund.
So I guess the question then is like, we couldn't have, if we have like, let's just say we have 10 teachers and we need to get rid of 5 spots, like you couldn't just choose to get rid of the 5 lowest salaried teachers because then we'd still be over budget, like theoretically.
Right. So I want to stop sharing my screen. But I don't seem to know how to do that.
I guess said another way, like when you're faced with this awful task of having to eliminate positions, you also have to think about like that there's a second step where you still have to make the numbers work among, the specific salary of each position you're eliminating.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Basically what happens is within my spreadsheet, I play around, right? So I look at, okay, well, if I abolish this position, what does that do for my budget? Versus abolishing this position, what does it do for my budget? And trying again to balance that with what are the needs of our school? What are the things that are going to most directly impact student achievement?
And then if we get additional, like, remind us how it works if like we get an additional 25 gifted or our enrollment is up by 60 students.
So for students that, for lack of a better explanation, have labels, right? Our gifted students, our ESOL students, our students who qualify for EIP. Twice a year, we have what's called FTE, one in October, one in March. So the budget that we have currently is based, or the budget that we have for next year, fiscal year 27, this budget is based on what our numbers look like during the October count. So even if the March count shows us having more of those students, that won't impact or change our budget for next year. It is solely based on October. And then next year's October FTE will impact fiscal year 28. Okay? Anything else?
And what was it 621 you said, or what was our number?
Correct. 621 is what this budget is based on.
And before it was 658. Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but which we didn't meet, right? And I should say that come our 15-day leveling for this year, 621 is the number that we were able to hit. So we were short of 658, but because we hit 621, that's also part of the reason that our budget was based on that enrollment number. So you take that enrollment number and then also add all of your different allotments.
Not that this matters, but I like to be correct with my numbers, 102.
102 current gifted students.
I had to go back and look real quick.
I'm sure we have more gifted students, but they're 101, 102
Hundred-
identified.
Identified, yes. I had to go look at my chart just to check. I wanted to be right.
All right. All right, so now we're going to look at non-staffing. So those are all of the amounts that we could mess around with, so to speak, hypothetically, that don't have to do with personnel. And also our hourly people. Okay, so those go under the non-staffing tab. Same kind of thing, except REC, I thought it was received. Apparently it's not. It's the recommendation. And then the allocation, what we are saying that we will use that money for, and then if there's any difference. Okay. So we have to put 2%, I think it is, of whatever our total allotment is into our reserve. Again, as we found this year, we ended up having to use that reserve to offset our lower enrollment. Custodian overtime and school resource officer overtime. This is what the district recommends, just like Dr. Waller did last year, kept these numbers exactly the same. So whatever the district was recommending, that's what we went with. For contracted services for professional development, the district doesn't put in any money for that. Same with web-based subscriptions. This is where the bulk of our money comes from in the non-staffing. That's teaching and other supplies. Last year, Dr. Waller bumped this up to a little over 47,000. So I am making the same recommendation. So keeping our teaching and other supplies at about the same number as it is this year. And you should know that EREF and PTA does offset this amount a good bit. They also offset professional development. They offset web-based subscriptions and licenses. I mean, pretty much everything in this category, with the exception of the custodian overtime, is offset by EREF or PTA already. Okay. I am recommending some of these other things because I think that they are important in helping us move forward and meeting the needs of our population. So one of those things is looking at professional development that specifically addresses culturally responsive pedagogy. $3,000, honestly, in terms of a professional development budget, is a drop in the bucket. So this amount would have to be offset by EREF and PTA as well. We have a good number of web-based subscriptions that our teachers use. So this also is a drop in the bucket and would be offset by EREF PTA. But it's things like intervention supplemental materials. I know Ms. Sanders, for instance, uses IXL with her students. That is something that the school has paid for directly and gotten a subscription for directly. It is over $2,000, I can tell you that already. Okay, so just trying to be intentional about showing you that we do, in fact, spend money on these things. This year, we took it out of that teaching and other supplies. And so we're trying to just be thoughtful about how much we might really need. Media supplies, again, staying right where we are. So what the district recommended is what we would allocate. Academic stipends, so all grade level grade level chairs receive a stipend. So at every grade level, there is one teacher who receives a stipend for being kind of the liaison, let's call it, for that grade level team. And then there's also a communications ambassador stipend. These are things, again, I can't touch these. These academic stipends are coming directly from the district and have already been promised to teachers or other staff that are taking on these very specific roles. Teacher subs, pretty self-explanatory. We have to budget for teachers being out. The only exception to that is teachers and staff who are on family medical leave. The district pays for FMLA, but when teachers are out and pays for the subs, for teachers that are out on FMLA, but for any teacher who is out sick, for any teacher that takes a personal day, and by the way, the district allots 3 personal days and 2 wellness days. So if teachers are using those things, we have to pay for a sub. So the recommendation is this 98,000 with the FICA attached to it, and that's exactly what we are going with. I can't speak to this, but I can tell you that most of the principals in the North Atlanta cluster that I've talked to say that it is not uncommon for them to go over this. And if they have a reserve, it comes out of there. And then here are the hourly positions that I am recommending. So I am recommending that we take our bookkeeper, who currently works 20 hours but is salaried, making them an hourly person is a cost savings to us of about $20,000, a little bit over that, $20,000. We've got 2 hourly cafeteria monitors. So every classroom teacher gets 30 minutes duty-free lunch, which means that you have the potential not to have any adults supervising children in the cafeteria, which is no good, as you can imagine. If we don't have cafeteria monitors, then we have to use our other staff. We would have to use electives teachers, or we'd have to use our instructional coaches, our assistant principals. There would have to be other adults in there, and no teacher wants to have that duty. At my last school, that's what we did. Is our really everyone in the building rotated through and took additional days. We've had times this year where we have not had cafeteria monitors. I know Ms. Sheroff has been supervising in that role. I think that just for the mental health of our staff, if we can have those cafeteria monitors, 2 of them at a total cost of $35,000, that would be preferable. And then our hourly residency officer, we split that person with Garden Hills, but they're not salaried, and there's the cost for that. So there you see it.
Are we allowed to have like parents as cafeteria monitors? I'm not suggesting we get rid of the like, I'm just asking.
I don't believe so, no.
Yeah.
Any other questions about that? So you see that we're looking at 410,000, a little over, for our non-staffing.
I have one question. So I know the foundation can't pay for salaries or wages, but the above the stipends
Stipends?
or maybe so if you take the stipends, the media supplies, the teaching supplies, the computer software, and the professional development, I mean, is that stuff that we should talk to the foundation about taking on?
So the answer is yes, the foundation or PTA can offset these things. And yes, we can talk to them about what kind of difference that would make. But you're really looking at kind of small piles of money, right? I mean, taking these things, 5,000, let's call it 10,000 between media, web-based subscriptions, and contracted professional development.
Well, I guess if
$10,000
you
is
add all of it up, it's what, like 80 grand? Almost.
right, right. I mean, this year, again, the 47,000 is what is coming from our budget that we're paying for, the school already is paying for. So, I just don't know that EREF or PTA would be able to offset
Offset all of that, yeah.
all of that, yeah.
And can I jump in to help support about EREV? They already spend over 180,000 to 190,000 budget, and some of it is for professional development.
Oh, I
Like,
know,
we
yeah,
have line items for all of this, and it's 5 times what we already have listed here. So
Yeah.
I think why it's here is because we've already asking them a big chunk anyways.
right,
Because they do even teaching supplies. They pay for that, pay
yeah,
above
yep,
and beyond. So I'm
yep.
just putting that out there that please know they're
Oh, yeah,
spending
yeah,
close to
no, I know,
200,000,
I
if
know,
not more, on a lot of these things. So sorry, I just
yeah,
wanted to make sure people understood that.
yeah. No, I'm aware of that. It would look very different if we didn't have all that.
Correct.
All right, I'm gonna move
Is
on.
there opportunities for, I guess, revenue for events in the facility rental? Like renting out the gym or renting the field out?
Yes, it's a great question. eRivers does not see that money specifically. It is revenue for APS, but that money does not come to eRivers specifically.
Do we have, Ms. Sheriff, are you on the ERF? You're on it, okay.
Yes, I
So
am.
it,
Mhm.
okay, so like if there was like some huge surplus, there would be coordination, I guess.
Yes, we have there's a save, I say I've been on it since the start of it. But there's a savings account that has a good amount in, and then there's also a working checking account. So
Yeah,
that we do have surplus, that if we needed to take over something, but again, it goes back to, we cannot pay for staff members, period, end of story. Like, that's the bylaws
yeah.
or
No, I've known that for a
that.
while.
Definitely, I mean, with, for professional development, I think our line item summary, correct me right if I'm wrong, but it's over 10 grand, if not more. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's room for that type of thing in the
But
budget.
I guess if somehow the ERF like exploded this year, maybe like I don't know. Anyway,
I mean, I think the savings account has, again, I don't have the budget sitting right in front of me. At
I just got it.
At least 200,000, if not a little more. So it's not like there's reserve.
So, here are the things that EREF is paying for. About $43,000 is going towards essentially teacher supplies, like giving teachers money directly in order for them to buy the materials that they need for their class, outside of like the curricular materials that the district provides. 53,000 in just IB training. 18,000 is EREF's fundraising expense, so the things that EREF has to use, right? Let's see, I mean, that's largely it. Technology and software is small, about 5,500. Curriculum and program support. So again, these are the instructional materials, web-based programs, things of that nature. EREF is currently budgeting 38,000 for that. And then another 11,000, 10.5 thousand in instructional supplies. So for a total of, well, I don't even, it's not, 172,000 So about what Nicole said, about 180,000 that EREF is giving directly to the school to pay for these other things. And again, with that generosity, we have been able to staff additional people,
Yeah,
but we're now at
that's
that
like
place
two,
where
yeah.
it's not enough. All right, so just looking at each category by function, this just kind of breaks it down for you. You know, if you like the pie chart, you know, you're looking at 77% of our budget goes directly to instruction, 7% for pupil services, you know, a small amount, 9% for school administration, small for maintenance and operations, small for school safety, a little bit for transportation, and that transportation is for like field trips, that type of thing. So again, 77% for a total budget of 10 million, almost 10.5 million. Roughly 17,000 per student. All right. So now we get to talk about that 2% of our budget that we have to put aside in reserves. So if we have the wonderful opportunity to meet our enrollment numbers, like if we meet that 621, then we get to keep 143,000 that we had set aside in reserve. So the question is what would we do with that 143,000? So my recommendations again is that we, you know, spend some of that money on additional professional learning, particularly professional learning focused on things like implicit bias, focused on equity. That we expand our teacher collaboration opportunities by getting back those hourly part-time paraprofessionals. Those paraprofessionals allow our teachers to hand off the materials that maybe they need copies of, or the things that they need cut or hole punched, or just the management of all those materials. Our hourly paraprofessionals take that off the plate of our teachers so that they can spend their time focused more on instructional planning. Paraprofessionals on average, it's $18.96 per hour. Woo! It's big money. It's big money.
Can I ask a question? Just from the budget. Speaking of that, you said that you were going to be cutting a limit as far as if we, you know, for what the budget we have, we're going to be eliminating the part-time paras. Where would they become? Like, who are like? What are those positions? I guess it's not the kindergarten paraprofessionals, is it? Okay.
No,
I just want to make sure. I was like, oh
we,
no.
yeah, we have
Okay.
3 part-time paraprofessionals. That
But they're not doing they're not in the classroom with the kids.
they I
That's all I
mean,
need to know.
you know, if there is time, right? If the teachers want to use them in that way, often they're doing more kind of clerical type stuff. We've also utilized them in a pinch, like if a teacher's had an emergency and we need to have a body in the classroom. But you know, again, the district does not fund. I mean, I remember the days back when in elementary schools, you had paras in every classroom and every first grade classroom, and then you had another para for all of second grade, all of third, right? All of those
I remember those days.
That
Yes.
money just keeps going away.
Right.
And so the only thing that is funded by the district are kindergarten paras, and then that special reserve covers those pre-K paraprofessionals. But the hourly paraprofessionals we have to pay for.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And then the last thing that I would recommend, you know, this is a really large school from where I'm coming from. And it surprises me that there isn't a media clerk. You know, the requirement of the media specialist is not only to regularly have classes in the media center, you know, managing checkout, managing a lot of school-wide materials, and because we don't have an IT person full-time on staff or that APS has provided to us, our media specialist has to manage all of those Chromebooks. That's a lot of work. And I think what ends up happening is our students don't end up being able to go in and have classes in the media center as often as they are in other places.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's hard to get in. Yeah, as soon as she puts the schedule out, we got to get in there.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I think it's one of those places, just like hourly paraprofessionals, that schools tend to cut. But then what is the impact on literacy? What is the impact on how kids are able to get in and use our library? I mean, I think we should have kids in our library at all hours of the day, and that just isn't a possibility, since we only have the one media specialist. Yeah. She also does our Helen Ruffin Reading Bowl, right? I mean, she's a powerhouse. If we could get support in there, through the use of our reserve, I would love that. Any questions about those recommendations? All right. So now you all get to talk about this. So for your consideration, right? Think about whether the budget, whether this budget proposal does support our strategic plan and those strategic objectives, whether these moves will lead to achieving our goals. I've talked about the creation of some new positions, particularly EIP and gifted. I've also talked a little bit about resources, but really most of our money is going towards personnel. Do we have data or feedback that supports these changes? I would argue that we do, right? Just given the numbers of students in these subgroups, given our data, and not just data from last year, but a pattern of very similar achievement data where we just aren't seeing the outcomes for all of our students, all of our subgroups. What trade-offs are being made in this budget? For instance, the trade-off of signature world language for EIP, let's call it, right? Or other, you know, all that whole shell game. Are those the proper trade-offs, or do we need to look elsewhere, right? Do we bring back a classroom teacher and reduce an EIP? Do we bring back world language and reduce an instructional coach? If we're sharing staff positions, we aren't. Residency officer is the only one we share. How will this affect student support and service delivery at our schools? So we don't really share any positions other than that residency officer. Everyone that we have here, which is unusual. Like, I've worked in districts that shared a music teacher, for instance, right? Or shared a speech language pathologist. Lots of those types of positions end up being, and we are really in a great place here in APS that we are able to fund, you know, in some situations, not just one full-time position, but 2 full-time positions. All right. So those are the questions for you.
I need to jump, but I want to say thank you. Clearly, a lot of really hard and intentional work went into this, and I think you did a really commendable and excellent job. And I think that what you've done does support the objectives and finds as good a balance as possible to maintain manageable class sizes, but also support what we're trying to do with the school. I'm sorry I need to jump, but if it's possible to kind of delegate my vote, I vote in favor of approving this draft budget. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but
Thank you, Greg. I think he must have already hit the button, so I appreciate that. Any other discussion?
No, I just want to make, I'm sure I saw it, but when I was looking at, are we sharing staff positions? I know we're not. Was the nurse a line item and I just kind of missed that? Or is that a different pot of money?
Yeah, that's under that instructional support.
Okay, I just
So
must have not seen
we
it.
earn the social worker, we earn the nurse.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I just missed it. I just wanted to make sure because we love Nurse Darlene and
Yeah, if I didn't call them out directly, then that meant that we earned them. I really tried
Okay,
to focus
perfect.
on the things that we weren't earning that I might have to, move around.
Great, thanks. I just want to double check.
Summer, you mentioned that we're approving a draft. So when does it solidify?
Yeah, so I think you came in just a little bit late, Mark. So the Go team is charged with approving the draft budget. Then the week of February 23rd, whatever that week is, I will meet with my associate superintendent, who will also go through our budget and hear the recommendations. And then after that, I'll go and meet with our HR director and look at staffing. One of the things that we have to consider anytime that we are abolishing positions is we have to consider things like, is the teacher credentialed, right? If they're teaching elementary education, if they're a classroom teacher, they have to have an elementary education endorsement. If they don't, we're losing out funding. All right. The district typically allows, if a teacher is enrolled in an educational program, the district and maybe the state gives 3 years where they will give them a provisional certificate for 3 years. After they complete their program, they then have 1 additional year to make sure that they have taken all the proper assessments. Those 2 things together will allow the Georgia Professional Standards Commission to give them a credential, to give them an endorsement. If after those 4 years they still have not been able to get that endorsement, then unfortunately they are not offered a contract. So it tends to be those teachers that whenever there are abolishments, while a position is abolished, that does not mean the person is abolished, particularly if it's the same type of position, right? So if I'm taking all of my general classroom teachers, then I'm looking at which are the teachers that aren't credentialed. Those teachers aren't offered a contract, I lose those positions, and then the remaining teachers are kind of moved around to maximize their expertise. Okay. After we look at who has the proper credentials, we look at seniority. It's not seniority in the building, it's seniority in APS. So again, a position is abolished. We have to figure out then where that person might go. And then the last hired who's on that same level would be the person who, if there weren't other positions available, would then be let go. So that's why we have the staffing conferences, so that we can make sure that we are going through all the steps and having the conversations with the people that will be affected because of their seniority status or their credentialing status. For positions that are single positions, right? So like, for instance, I was an assistant principal. My position was abolished. I was the only assistant principal for that school. So again, it's not seniority in the school. So they didn't just move me into a classroom position. My position was abolished. I had the opportunity to apply for other positions in that school if I wanted. The great thing, I shouldn't say great because none of this is great, but I have tried again to create enough opportunities via new positions that anyone with an abolished position would be able to apply for other opportunities. If it's an even position, I can just shift, right? Like, for instance, we've earned an additional interrelated special education position. I can take any classroom teacher that has that credential and I can move them. So then that person isn't abolished completely. If they've got the proper credential, I can move them.
really shouldn't impact it. So it's about things that you might want to exclude.
Sorry about that. Is so the credentialing, make sure I'm for one clear point. Will a teacher's credential allow for a different budget amount?
No.
Okay, so if they had a higher level credential, that wouldn't allow for additional dollars.
No, all that does is, like, for instance, I'm going to use Ms. Sheriff as an example. Okay. So Ms. Sheriff has both an ESOL credential and she has a gifted credential.
Principal Clayton, I hate to interrupt. Hi, everyone. This is Diane Jacoby from School Governance Office. You really shouldn't be sharing like what all the credentials you're.
I don't mind.
Okay.
Oh.
That's fine.
I personally don't
Well,
mind.
I'm sorry. I'm
I-
using the teachers here as
I-
examples.
I-
I'm not bringing up.
No,
a
no,
random-
I understand,
Yeah.
but still without her, if she gives her permission, that's one thing, but to just, I just want to try to help make sure that
Well,
Sure.
personal
I
information is
guess it
protected
becomes
if that
a
wasn't.
moot point because I think you did answer the question in general. I get it.
And I apologize, Diane. Everyone here, we've already talked about Nicole is our 0.5 gifted and our 0.5 ESOL, but I hear you. I totally hear you.
It doesn't bother me. I also have instructional coaching hat on if we really want to go where all that. There, I
Ms.
said it.
Sheriff,
It's
it's
done.
one thing for you to announce it, and the position is different than credential to a certain extent. But
Oh yeah, we're
that's
not
fine.
talking about.
Right. But the
I don't want
credentialing
anybody
does, but they
getting in
do
trouble.
have to have the proper credentialing for that the position requires.
And
But it
Principal
doesn't, but that
Clayton-
doesn't impact the funding in terms of what we're paying out. It could impact the allotment that the school receives, but it doesn't impact what we then pay the salary of that particular teacher.
Got it. Got it. Are there any opportunities to do any sharing of resources with any other schools in the cluster? Let's say we have a position, we want to take it as a part-time, and another school in the cluster take them as a part-time.
I mean, I think that there are opportunities within the district that, that has been done. For instance, I've already, mentioned that we share our hourly residency officer, right? But often those are things that are organized outside of the school, right? So, like, for instance, a school psychologist, the central office person who is over all school psychologists in the district, they're going to create those partnerships. There are opportunities. For instance, we were approached about sharing I think a parent liaison. I think it was Sutton that was looking to create a parent liaison position. No, I lied. Sutton was looking to share the residency officer, and they approached us about sharing the residency officer, but we already share the residency officer. So there are those potential opportunities. Again, for us, though, that means that they are in our school less time. And it's still, even if they're half-time with us, that's still creating an expense for us. So again, it's just about, figuring out how to move the money around to take advantage if there are opportunities like that out there.
Can
Yeah.
I just quickly chime in? If we think that we need to have a lot more discussion, I'm wondering if we should extend this meeting to another day. I'm really sorry, but I have to go and I want to have the opportunity to vote. I don't know what else to do. Sorry.
We won't be in a quorum because Early just left.
Well, I'm
And-
still here, but I
Yeah.
don't know if it was possible that before I left I could just vote or not.
Yeah, actually, you would still be at a quorum because you've got Allison, Nicole, Mark. Oh, no. No. Oh, yeah, Wendy and Amanetta.
I
So
I just
really
think if
early and
we,
Erica could still leave and we would still have a quorum because we would have 5. Allison, Nicole, Wendy, Mark, and Amanetta.
Okay.
Unless there's any objection, can I call a motion for a vote?
Yes.
And second,
I second.
All those in favor?
all those in
Yeah.
favor of approving the draft budget that was provided by Summer today?
Aye.
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 I,
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried.
Thank you
Um,
all. I know that this is not easy. It's difficult. And I now have the difficult task of having conversations with various people. That will most likely happen after my staffing conference with the HR director. To ensure that they're looking at all of the factors for determining who moves where. But I do appreciate it. So
Well,
it is
Summer, I certainly want at least to say and chime in that I commend you on the budget allocation and work that you've put into this. Certainly you put some thought into it and put your heart into it, which is important. And so kudos to you for that.
Thank
I
you.
agree.
I really appreciate that. I'll tell you, I went to bed at 12:30 last night and I woke up at 3:30. So this has been weighing quite heavily. So I
yeah,
appreciate those
we
comments.
do appreciate all the hard work you've done. We know that you've trying your very best with this.
Thank you. Thank you.
mhm.
So again, this is our next meeting is March 2nd. That will be a hybrid meeting. So those of you that can join us in 11:11 will be here. Those of you that can't, we will have the Zoom link open. And of course, we'll still be live streaming to YouTube. There is something else that so I'm going to skip over the principals report for time. There is another piece of action that was on our agenda that we need to take, and that is to provide public comment. So we allow public comment, but there hasn't been a great vehicle for getting the public involved. And what I notice other schools do is other schools on their website have a Google form. So if somebody wants to sign up, so Diana has told me that it's not secure to have our Zoom link on our website. That instead, if we have a forum for allowing public to sign up for a public comment, and then I send them directly the Zoom link. Does that make sense? So for today's meeting, that link is on our website because I wanted to make sure that the public could access and be a part of this conversation and make public comments if they wanted to. Diane has said that is something that the Go team, if we're going to have it permanently up on our website, that's something that the Go team needs to take action on, to say that you approve, or make a motion to approve that or not. The public comment doesn't go into a lot of detail of what they are going to say. It just has them kind of signing up. In fact,
I'm sorry to interrupt, Summer.
Yeah.
Will there be a cutoff time for when they can sign up? Because if they do it during the meeting,
yes.
it would be hard for us to see the form. or
Yeah.
anything like that.
So the way that I have it written now is they have to sign up by 8 a.m. on the day of the meeting. I feel like that's enough time because there's no action for me to take. I just need their name, right? So that I have the day essentially to send them the Zoom link. So here's the form that I'm recommending. Again, it's just first and last name. I also have the translation in Spanish, what their affiliation is, what topic, and if they are a Spanish-speaking parent, for instance, if they would need translation in order to make their public comment.
And this would just be for the ones that, for the few meetings that we have public comment open.
That's
Am I
right. So
correct?
the link would be, so where on the website it says yes for public comment, there would be a link there directly to this form. And then below that chart is another section in our Go Team site that talks about public comment. The form would live there as well.
Okay. With that information, may I have a motion to approve the implementation of the Google form?
I will. Oh, sorry, I will.
Okay,
You
Nicole.
know me,
thank
Emma,
you.
let's go, let's go.
You're
I
ready to
will.
go. Second.
I second.
Thank you. Oh,
Okay, so for all in favor, please say aye.
I.
Aye.
So in terms of my principal's report, I'm going to do this in like 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, did Mark respond?
Mark, we
only
couldn't
heard
hear you if you voted.
Yeah, I only heard 3 ayes. Can I assume it's a yes?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Mark, if you can hear us.
Was it
we
a
need
nay
you-
then? Or an abstention? We kind of need that one last eye.
Unless he comes back to correct the record, you can put him, oh, there he is.
Great.
Sorry.
Don't worry, sorry about that. We just wanted to see, did you approve us using the Google form for the public comments?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. All right, 30 seconds, principal's report. You know, this is just some information that I thought you might find interesting. It just looks at what our current enrollment is. It looks at attendance rates. It looks like it also shows you like our current population of English language learners, gifted students with disabilities, 504. And then just some charts around milestone proficiency and MAP proficiency, as well as exceeding growth. Just some information that I thought you might find interesting. I'm going to skip because this is a conversation that we often have, is kind of comparing our traditional students and our DLI students. So this data is based on our winter map, and it just shows you at the top what proficiency in our traditional classrooms look like, math and reading at each grade level. And then what proficiency looks like in terms of numbers for our DLI students. So again, you have the presentation, so you can, go back and kind of dig deeper into those numbers. But I did want to just have that for you all to review. Any questions about this? All right, like I said, I was hoping to get it in 30 seconds. A reminder that it is time. Let's see, I don't know who's rolling off. Amanetta and Nicole are both rolling off. So this is the time. Wendy, are you rolling off too? Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is the time to recruit people. Get the word out there, have them go declare that they are interested, and it's on our website. It is, I think, on the APS website. Lots of opportunity for folks to be able to sign up and submit their name for Go Team elections.
Isn't it it's 2 years, right?
mhm.
2
think
years?
so.
Okay, yeah, so then I won't, yeah.
Diane, are we allowed to, are we allowed to serve another consecutive 2 years? If so, or you have to take a year off? I can't remember the.
Everybody is permitted 2 consecutive 2-year terms. So you can serve 4
Oh.
years consecutively before you have
Okay.
to take a break. According to our records, everybody currently serving on the eRivers team is, so long as you meet all the other eligibility requirements, but you are not term limited. So anybody who would like to,
Do it
anybody
again.
who would like to declare their candidacy is welcome to if they meet the eligibility requirements. And for those of you who either may not want to serve again or who are, especially for our parents, if you're rolling up to the middle school level, we cannot stress strongly enough how far a personal ask goes. If you know of somebody in your community who you think would be a really good fit, who always has very insightful thoughts or questions and brings something to the table, do not underestimate how far just personally telling them, hey, we think that you would be a great fit for this and you really should declare your candidacy. It goes a very long way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That is all I have.
Do we have any other announcements? Nope. Well, we've reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? Nope. Looks like everyone's ready to go. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Okay, I guess
moved.
it was Wendy
Second.
and then Nicole.
Yep.
All in favor? Please say
Aye.
aye. Aye. No, no nays and no abstentions. Thank you guys, and look forward to meeting with everyone on the 2nd at 3:30. The meeting is adjourned at, what time is it?
5:29.
5:29.
Thank you
We got a lot
guys so
done.
much. I
you.
know this was a long 2 hours, so I appreciate your stick with itness.
Thanks, Miss Clayton.
All right.
Thank
Y'all have a great
you.
evening.
Thank you.